Hey guys, welcome back. Well, for the first time in my channel, I'm going to be doing a live comparison. So I'm going to be comparing the three movies without the editing involved. So for this comparison, I'm comparing my childhood video game that I used to play, which is Lego Batman 3, and I'm going to be comparing it to the Super Mario Galaxy movie, the movie that just came out this year. And I'm also going to be throwing Project Hail Mary into the conversation. Yeah, they're pretty much outer space related movies. Or I may say just one video game and two movies. That's what they all have in common, is that they all took place in outer space. But without wasting any more time, let's get this over with. Well, as usual, we're starting with the story, and I believe that we're starting with the Lego Batman 3 game. Okay, it's been a while since I played this game, so I'm just going to try to remember the story. Okay, to get this straight, the story mode of Lego Batman 3 is that Brainiac has been collecting planets, and the Lanterns just got captured by him. And then the super villains, or I may say the Legion of Doom, for some reason want to go to outer space, and then Batman and Robin, well, with the other heroes involved, went to space. And then they discover Brainiac, so the heroes had to work with the villains. Well, I gotta say, Lego Batman 3 was more of a Justice League game when you think about it, but yet it is so dang fun. Okay, well, me personally, I am not into Legos anymore. I don't collect, play with them, or even play the games anymore, but I still appreciated the story and everything. And plus, the Justice League teaming up with the Legion of Doom to stop Brainiac, it was such a pleasant, good time. And this is the kind of storytelling that I did grow up with. Well, I gotta say, well, that ending part though, it felt a bit anticlimactic, I believe with that word. Yeah, it felt like a bit short, like it could have ended with Brainiac as the boss instead of giant Superman. Like, yeah. But despite the ending, the story really, like, flow, and it never gets boring, that is for sure. Alright. Alright, well now, let's talk about the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Alright. The story for the Super Mario Galaxy movie: Princess Rosalina got kidnapped by Bowser's son, and then Princess Peach discovered Rosalina is still alive. However, Mario and Luigi has to guard the castle, and then they met Bowser Jr., and they end up going to space to help Princess Peach. Yeah, the story was straightforward, plain simple. That's all I can say. And the worst thing is that it doesn't really have time to flesh out the whole story. And I did explain that in my last comparison. Like, well, the first movie, well, hold on. Stupid ads, like. Okay, well, the first movie was simple too. Like, it has the same problem, and the pacing was fast, but it did took time to flesh out the story and characters, and what it makes up for is the game source material that they use through and through. Like, the Mario elements really worked in the first movie. But I never get any of that with the second. At least this time around. Well, although the animation was even better, and the music scores was better as well. Like, Illumination deserves some credits for this kind of stuff. Like, Illumination did a really good job. But, unfortunately, despite the better pacing, this movie really wastes time with the character development. Especially they keep on adding some random Nintendo characters, which we will talk about in round 2. Well, on that note, the story was a mess at best, and everything could have been like a 3-act structured. Alright, now let's talk about... Oh great. Project Hail Mary, another movie that came out in the same year as the Galaxy movie. Well, I have not read the books. Well, I heard this movie was based off the book, so just a disclaimer, I have not read the book, so... And plus, this movie was very unexpected for me to watch. Well, I'm just going to give it some compliments. The story was pretty alright. Well, it was pretty slow because the runtime for that movie is 2 hours and 36 minutes. But for what it went, it's just decent for me because at times I got really bored with this kind of runtime. And I honestly just don't care that much for the story. Because I'm more of an action movie kind of guy, you feel me? Well, in general, though, I fell half asleep, actually, when I watched this for the first time. Like, I was at, Universal Studios. Well, it was the City Walk Theater where I watched the movie, and that's when I went on Epic Universe for the second time. So yeah, I watched that in theaters during Universal Studios. And I'm not sure if it's just me being exhausted from walking over the park, whatever, but I did fell half asleep during the story in general. Like, if it was, like, an entertaining 2 hours film, then that wouldn't happen to me, but it just did. Well, anyway. Well, for the story, I will say Lego Batman 3 has the upper hand. Well, there's much going on with the story mode. Yeah, there's a lot going on with the story mode, but it was well-paced, and some of the stuff do make sense, and it has action. Well, when you count the gameplay, we can talk more about that in the action segment. So yeah. Well, as for second place, I have to give it to Mario. Well, I mean, some stuff could have been, like, longer in a extent of the story, but I never got bored with the story in the Galaxy movie. But that's just one thing. So with that being said, the outer space kind of concept with a better story is Lego Batman 3, and then the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and lastly, Project Hail Mary. Okay, now let's talk about the characters. Well, they're all great. Like, both heroes and the villains, perhaps. Like, they got every personality right, and that's all. Okay, as for Mario Galaxy movie, well, on this contrary, they're all good as well, but I do have my problems with them. One being is Rosalina. Okay, a lot of people thought that she is disappointing in that movie, and I really think so too, and even my friend thinks so as well. And plus, they made her pretty weak in this movie, and her backstory that she had in the Mario games, it seems unexistent here in the movie. The backstory of Shadow the Hedgehog compared to Rosalina, well, it was both from the games and the movie. Yeah, and his backstory was well paced, and it was so true from the games, and it was even more emotional than Rosalina, and that's how they know how much they just screwed up. Yike. Okay. Well, Rosalina is not the worst character of the movie. The real worst character in the movie has to be the unnecessary, unrelated Mario characters they just throw into the movie. Like the Pigmans, Little Mac, what's the other one? Oh, Mr. Gaming Watch. Oh, and that freaking robot too, Rob. Oh, and they even put Star Fox in there and give him more screen time than I thought he's going to get. Yeah, there's no reason to put him here into the movie. Yeah, there's no reason for that. Well, on paper, it was cool, but the more that you think about the story here, it doesn't really make sense. Yeah, just imagine if the new generation of kids watching this movie gets confused, thinking that Star Fox is from Mario. It's like me getting confused that Sonic was from Mario, because Mario and Sonic crossover game was the first Sonic game that I played. And I was very confused by that too. Well, overall, all of these cameos were pretty trash, and there's no reason to, add them into the movie. Well, if it was just a post-credit scene, then I would excuse that and give it a pass. But as for a Mario movie, it felt so unfitting and out of place, and they're only just doing these cameos just for a marketing stunt, which I don't care about. Star Fox was in this movie just to market the new Star Fox game. Ooh, whoever give a crap about that? All this is just a setup for a Super Smash Bros. Movie. Well, Super Smash was a crossover game that I used to love playing, but now I just got sick of it. I really don't want a Super Smash Bros. Movie. Well, unless they're going to add, the Mortal Kombat characters into the movie, especially, games like Five Nights at Freddy's, then I would be into watching that movie, as long as they just add these characters in. But for the most part, I would prefer if they just stick with Mario as a standalone franchise and not a Avengers level MCU movie that nobody asks for. Alright. Alright, as for the villains, let's start with Bowser Jr. Okay, first off, I need to say, a lot of people didn't like his eyes design, and well, I don't blame them, because I had the same opinion, even when I first saw his design for this movie. But despite that, his was pretty great in that movie. Even better than Bowser, although his redemption arc was pretty teased in this movie, but it ended up not happening. Well, although this frog guy, whatever his name is, that's from the Super Mario Bros. 2 games, where is he? Where is that frog villain? Okay, I can't seem to find him. Oh, there you go. There's the guy I'm looking for. Yeah. This frog guy, well, he never did anything that much, really. Like, he only got, like, a short amount of screen time. And, well, that's not good. Like, they could have just, like, easily make him the main villain for this movie, for Mario and Bowser to team up against. Like, it was such a shame that they just underutilized that character. Like, the whole thing was such a mess that it doesn't even give room for the... It doesn't give room for the good characters to have their moment, and that's how much they suffered here. Characters that were put in this movie they made such a good impression in the other movies. Like, the villains in most Marvel movies, as a example. Like, this is why that I expected better here. Well, Project Hail Mary doesn't really have villains, so we can just only talk about the characters. Well, I will say that the only good thing this movie had going was the bond between the character Grace and that rock character named Rocky. Like, this is just the only good thing about this movie for me. The bond between the human character and that alien. Well, it was slow how they developed it, but it was wholesome. Yeah. Well, for the superior characters and villains, I'm obviously going to go with Lego Batman. And then, I will say, Super Mario Galaxy Movie is on second place. And then Project Hail Mary is on last. Alright, now is action time. Well, technically for Lego Batman 3, they're just gameplays. And, well, since that I am not into Legos anymore, the gameplay were just basic. And actually, they're like too easy. Like, I have beaten a lot of Lego games. Like, I have beaten a few Lego games in my day. Even the Lego movie, as an example. I have beaten it because it's way too easy. And that's just embarrassing. Okay. Now, the action for the Super Mario Galaxy movie, that I would prefer over Lego Batman 3 action, because it's so affirmable, whatever that word is. Well, the action is not as good as the first movie, at least in my opinion, Because for the first movie, I actually feel like playing the Mario games again, because they just did like the gameplay mechanics and all that stuff. But for the Galaxy movie, well, it just barely felt like a Galaxy movie. Well, instead, it kind of felt like we're just playing a totally different game, and that is such a real shame, because Galaxy is literally in the title of the sequel, but yet they don't even explore the galaxy just like in the games enough. Like, they just didn't explore it much. But for what it's worth, the action was still cool, but it didn't hit you with an impact just like the first movie did. And the first movie had a lot of great moments too, while the sequel just we get like a Star Fox starship scene that we don't need. Alright, now we just reached the conclusion already with the comparison. Well, although I did not talk about the comedy in both, well, with all three of these films, because the comedy of Lego Batman 3 was just generic, and it felt like the comedy was made for kids only. And the Super Mario Galaxy movie comedy are not great either, because it just felt like the Minecraft movie level humor for me. And there's some of the jokes that didn't work for a Mario movie, and some of them are just already taken from other movies. But as for Project Hail Mary, well, I didn't laugh at all. Well, I mean, there's some scenes that were funny. I did laugh at a few jokes, but it was not that funny either. So for that, none of these movies deserve a point for superior comedy. Well, on that note, I only like the story in Lego Batman 3, but everything else I don't care for anymore, because it's just Legos, you know? Well, Project Hail Mary is the movie that I don't care for much, really. Well, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, well, I slightly prefer that movie out of the two, but these unnecessary Nintendo cameos being thrown into the movie, it just really kills the movie for me. And for that, it doesn't feel like a Mario movie afterwards. Well, instead, it just felt like we're watching a totally different game adaptation. It was just a Super Smash Bros. Movie setup film. But in any which, let's get to the scores. Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham. Well, I think I will give it a 6 out of 10. It's not that bad of a low score, but not perfect. Okay, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, well, my new score is now a high 7. Okay, the reason why that it went low to a 7 now, because not only they're trying to set up a Super Smash Bros. Movie by adding these random Nintendo characters, this movie just failed to develop their characters, just like the first movie did. Well, it is not a terrible movie, of course, but it is not very perfect. And plus, something about it is that Princess Peach and Rosalina are sisters. Well, it's fine, but they could have just added Rosalina backstory from the games, which they are supposed to, but this opportunity just passed. Well, Project Hail Mary gets a 5 out of 10. Well, it's not bad, but not my favorite movie, so... But with that, the Super Mario Galaxy movie wins. So, what do you all think? Do you have any comments about this? Like, which movie do you prefer out of the three? And why? Well, if you enjoyed this first live comparison, well, actually, it's not the first because I did basically do a live comparison in my previous live video. That's with, Captain Underpants and Dogman. Like, I believe it was that video I posted. I don't really know. But anyway, if you did enjoy this live comparison, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.